Audiobook Bridget Jones's Diary.
I cannot believe what has happened. By 1 p.m. Daniel had still not woken up, and I was starting to worry, because the party starts at 2:30. Eventually I woke him with a cup of coffee and said, "I thought you needed to wake up because we're supposed to be there at 2:30. "Where?" he said. "The Tarts and Vickers." "Oh, God, love. Listen, I've just realized I've got so much work to do this weekend. I'm really going to have to stay at home and get down to it." I couldn't believe it. He promised to come. Everyone knows when you're going out with someone, they are supposed to support you at hideous family occasions. And he thinks if he so much as mentions the word work, he can get out of anything. Now all the Alconberry's friends will spend the entire time asking me if I've got a boyfriend yet, and no one will believe me. Later that day, I cannot believe what I have been through. Drove for 2 hours, parked at the front of the Alconberry's and hoping I looked okay in the bunny girl outfit. Walked round the side to the garden where I could hear the voices raised in merriment. As I started to cross the lawn, they all went quiet, and I realized to my horror that instead of Tarts and Vickers, the ladies were in country casual style calf-length floral two-pieces, and the men were in slacks and v-necked sweaters. I stood there, frozen, like, well, a rabbit. Then, while everyone stared, Una Alconberry came flapping across the lawn in a pleated fuchsia, holding out a plastic tumbler full of bits of apple and leaves. "Bridget! Super to see you! Have a pince!" she said. "I thought it was supposed to be a Tarts and Vickers party," I hissed. "Oh dear! Didn't Jeff call you?" she said. I couldn't believe this. I mean, did she think I dressed as a bunny girl normally or something? "Jeff," she said, "didn't you telephone Bridget?" "We're all looking forward to meeting your new boyfriend," she said, looking around. "Where is he?" "He had to work," I muttered. "How's my little Bridget?" said Uncle Geoffrey, lurching over. "Geoffrey," said Una coldly. Yup, all present and correct. Orders obeyed, Lieutenant," he said, saluting, then collapsing onto her shoulder, giggling. But it was one of those ruddy answer phone thingamajigs. "Geoffrey," hissed Una, "go and see to the barbecue." "I'm sorry, darling. You see, we decided after all the scandals there have been with Vickers around here, there'd be no point having a Tarts and Vickers party because..." She started to laugh. "Because everyone thought Vickers were tarts anyway." "Oh dear," she said, wiping her eyes. "Anyway, how's this new chap then? What's he doing working on Saturday? That's not a very good excuse, is it? How are we going to get you married off at this rate?" "At this rate, I'm going to end up as a call girl," I muttered, trying to unpin the bunny tail from my bottom. I could feel someone's eyes on me and looked up to see Mark Darcy staring fixedly at the bunny tail. Beside him was the tall, thin, glamorous top family law barrister clad in a demure lilac dress and a coat like Jackie O, with sunglasses on her head. The smug witch smirked at Mark and blatantly looked me up and down in a most impolite manner. "Have you come from another party?" she breathed. "Actually, I'm just on my way to work," I said, at which Mark Darcy half smiled and looked away. "Hello, darling, can't stop shooting," trilled my mother, hurrying towards us in a bright turquoise pleated shirtwaister, waving a clapperboard. "What on earth do you think you're wearing, darling? You look like a common prostitute." "Absolute quiet, please, everyone, and..." she yelled in the direction of Julio, who was brandishing a video camera. "Action!" In alarm, I quickly looked round for Dad, but couldn't see him anywhere. I saw Mark Darcy talking to Una and gesturing in my direction. Then Una, looking purposeful, hurried across to me.
"Bridget, I am so sorry about the mix-up over the fancy dress," she said. "Mark was just saying you must feel dreadfully uncomfortable with all these older chaps around. Would you like to borrow something?" I spent the rest of the party wearing over my suspender outfit a puff-sleeved, floral sprig Laura Ashley bridesmaid dress up to knees, with Mark Darcy's Natasha smirking and my mother periodically rushing past going, "That's a pretty dress, darling." "I don't think much of the girlfriend, do you?" said Una Alconbury loudly, nodding in Natasha's direction as soon as she got me alone. "Very much the little madam. Elaine thinks she's desperate to get her feet under the table." "Oh, hello, Mark. Another glass of Pimm's? What a shame Bridget couldn't bring her boyfriend. He's a lucky chap, isn't he?" All this was said very aggressively, as if Una was taking as a personal insult the fact that Mark had chosen a girlfriend who was A, not me, and B, had not been introduced to him by Una at a turkey curry buffet. "What's his name, Bridget? Daniel, is it?" "Bam says he's one of these super-duper young publishers." He stared at me, as if distracted by something else. "Sorry," he said. "I was just trying to figure out what you mean. Are you suggesting that I'm jealous of Daniel Cleaver over you?" "No, not over me," I said, furious because I realized it did sound like that. "I was just assuming you must have some reason to be so horrible about my boyfriend other than pure malevolence." "Mark, darling," said Natasha, tripping prettily across the lawn to join us. She was so tall and thin she hadn't felt the need to put heels on, so could walk easily across the lawn without sinking, as if designed for it, like a camel in the desert. "Come and tell your mother about the dining furniture we saw in Conran." "Just take care of yourself, that's all," he said quietly. "And I tell your mom to watch out for herself too," he said, nodding pointedly in the direction of Julio as Natasha dragged him off. After 45 minutes more horror, I thought I could decently leave, pleading word to Una. "You career girls! Can't put it off forever, you know. Tick-tock, tick-tock," she said. I had to have a cigarette in the car for 5 minutes before I was calm enough to set off. Then, just as I got back to the main road, my dad's car drove past. Sitting next to him in the front seat was Penny Husband's Bosworth, wearing a red lace underwired uplift basque and 2 bunny ears. By the time I got back to London and off the motorway, I was feeling pretty shaky and back much earlier than I expected, so I thought, instead of going straight home, I'd go round to Daniel's for a bit of reassurance. I parked nose to nose with Daniel's car. There was no answer when I rang, so I left it a while and rang again in case it was just in the middle of a really good wicket or something. Still no answer. I knew he must be around because his car was there, and he'd said he was going to be working and watching the cricket. I looked up at his window, and there was Daniel. I beamed at him, waved, and pointed at the door. He disappeared. I assumed to press the buzzer, so I rang the bell again. He took a bit of time to answer. "Hi, Bridge. Just on the phone to America. Can I meet you in the pub in 10 minutes?" "Okay," I said cheerfully, without thinking, and set off. But when I looked round, there he was again, not on the phone, but watching me out of the window. Cunning as a fox, I pretended not to see and kept walking, but inside I was in turmoil. Why was he watching? Why hadn't he answered the door the first time? Why didn't he just press the buzzer and let me come up straight away? Suddenly it hit me like a thunderbolt. He was with a woman. My heart pounding, I rounded the corner. Then, keeping flat against the wall, I peered round to check he had gone from the window. No sign of him. I hurried back and assumed a crouching position in the porch next to his, observing his doorway between the pillars in case the woman came out. I waited, crouched in the position for some time. But then I started to think, if a woman did come out, how would I know it was Daniel's flat she had come out of, and not one of the other flats in the building? What would I do? Challenge her? Make a citizen's arrest? Also, what was to stop him leaving the woman in the flat with instructions to stay there until he had time to get to the pub? I looked at my watch. 6:30. Ha! The pub wasn't open yet. Perfect excuse. Emboldened, I hurried back towards the door and pushed the buzzer. "Bridget, is that you again?" he snapped. "The pub isn't open yet." There was silence. Did I hear a voice in the background? In denial, I told myself he was just laundering money or dealing in drugs. He was probably trying to hide polythene bags full of cocaine under the floorboards, held by some smooth South American men with ponytails. "Let me in," I said. "I told you, I'm on the phone." "Let me in." "What?" He was playing for time, I could tell. "Press the buzzer, Daniel," I said. Isn't it funny how you can detect someone's presence, even though you can't see, hear, or otherwise discern them? Oh, of course I checked the cupboards on the way upstairs, and there was no one in any of them. But I knew there was a woman in Daniel's house. Maybe it was a light smell. Something about the way Daniel was behaving. Whatever it was, I just knew. We stood there, warily at opposite sides of the sitting room. I was just desperate to start running around, opening and closing all the cupboards like my mother, and ringing 1471 to see if there was a number stored from America. "What have you got on?" he said. I had forgotten about Janine's outfit in the excitement. "A bridesmaid's dress," I said haughtily. "Would you like a drink?" said Daniel. I thought fast. I needed to get him into the kitchen so I could through all the cupboards. "A cup of tea, please." "Are you all right?" he said. "Yes, fine," I trilled. "Marvellous time at the party. Only one dressed as a tart had to put on a bridesmaid's dress. Ma Darcy was there with Natasha. That's a nice shirt you're wearing." I stopped, out of breath, realizing I had turned. There was no "was turning" about it, into my mother.